4x4 vehicles revel in the conditions. More drama as another Bird Paradise Kawasaki rider is injured. A muddy debut for the new Ford 4x4 contender. And 3 new faces among the bike winners. The Castrol Baberspan 500 is one of the showpieces of the South African off-road season. This year the race, the second round of the National Championship, earned notoriety as the wettest Baberspan ever as heavy rains saturated the Western Transvaal. A 19-kilometre racing section on day 1 decided start positions for the race proper, with pre-event favourites Bucks Carolyn and Kenny Skolthammer first away in the Porsche-powered Natal Earthworks Raceco. Next away was Class 9 favourite Harry Rocket Roscoe in the Protea Card Raceco, who looked as though he meant business. Former champions RP Reyneke and Lucas Dreyer were out for the first time in a newly developed BP Ford Courier 4x4 bakkie. There was plenty of excitement at the finish, with Bucks Carolyn having to fend off a hard-charging Klaus Degener in the Duckham's Chenoweth, who was revelling in the wet conditions. Pole position went to Philip Malone and Springbok Richard Leake in the turbocharged Toyota Hilux 4x4, while Ian Bell in the VW found a novel way to cross the finish line after a steering arm broke. There were encouraging performances from the Variawa Hussein combination, newcomer Rob Gibson, and Cassie Coetzee and Wiley Harrington. The Bike Brigade covered 2 laps of the 19-kilometre first racing section to decide on the following day's start order. The difficult conditions were expected to favour the bigger capacity machines, and there was never any doubt the bikers were going to get wet and muddy. Winston Yamaha star Brian Brontekoning was one of the favourites in the 200 class, with tough opposition expected to come from teammate Richard Manning and Camel Sun City 400 winner Yuri Human on the Bird Paradise Kawasaki. Springbok superstar Jeremy Davies was everyone's favourite to win the event overall, but blotted his copybook by crashing in the qualifying run. Gavin Nimmo started out on a spectacular note on the Winston Yamaha and finally took 8th position on the grid. Errol Dalton took pole position ahead of Mark Myron and Lesotho rider Patrick Andrews. The big name missing from the top 8 was Jeremy Davies. Day 2 saw 450 kilometres of tough racing ahead for competitors, and the pre-dawn start saw the usual frantic last-minute preparations. There was also drama with top drivers Bucks Carolyn, Greg Wiebel and Harry Roscoe withdrawing after citing mechanical problems. They were soon to be joined by Robin Yates and John Lambert, who pulled out soon after the start. Into an early lead went the Philip Malone-Richard Leake combination, with helicopter cameraman Joe Lowe giving an indication of just how wet and muddy it was in the Western Transvaal. Former Baberspan winners and South African champions Wilfried Westlau and Dagmar Blankner quickly slotted into second position. They were under pressure from Derek Pinoy and Klaus Degener, who decided to share the driving and navigating duties. The Reyneke Dreyer Ford Courier was looking to have plenty of potential, with Bloemfontein pair Alfred van Vuren and Piet Pelser once again up with the front runners and leading Class 5 in the near-standard Toyota Hilux. Stephen Parker and VZ Fonsale were running in the top 10 and out in front in Class 7. As for the conditions, it was water, water everywhere. There was drama for Pinoy and Degener when they went farming and sent a few local inhabitants scattering. Getting back en route saw the pair almost having a coming together with Westlau and Blankner. A good battle was developing up front with Degener and Pinoy taking on Philip Milan and Richard Leake in the Toyota Hilux. It was great fun for the leaders, but further down the field there was nothing to shout about. The conditions were taking their toll, with retirements mounting as crews bogged down in the mud and water. While backmarkers ground to wet and muddy halts, many just managed to retain their sense of humour. They were not alone in their misery, for the conditions were also to later wreck any chances of some of the more fancied teams winning. You wouldn't believe it, but people go off-road racing to have fun. Back at the start of the bike section, there was more tension. Poleman Errol Dalton was flagged away, but a broken pair of goggles saw him stay on the line. While team manager Hilton Beattie frantically searched for replacement goggles, second man Mark Myron was sent on his way on the Castrol Honda. Dalton finally got going and was closely followed by Patrick Andrews. For Dalton, there was more drama in store when he crashed heavily soon after the start. Mark Myron, who was a film stuntman in his spare time, found himself in the early lead. For the bikers, conditions were almost impossible. The depth of the water along the middle monarchy knocked Gavin Nemo's feet off the footrests, but no self-respecting biker would think of doing anything but go flat out. Patrick Andrews was in full cry, and behind him KTM teammates Jeremy Davies and John Hodgson were racing neck and neck. They talk about mad dogs and Englishmen, but this was crazy. Back with the cars, and Klaus Degener and Derek Pinoy were still in the lead, now being chased by the Ford Courier of Alfie Reinecker and Lucas Dreyer.